but this one is this one's going to be a good one as far as do you guys have a marketing plan that you have right now? And I'll probably direct that question more to Doris. I'm not sure. Doris?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How about you guys?
We're
Great.
doing well.
Thanks.
We're
Great.
gonna pick on you since Yulisa said that you guys are a team. Am I saying that,
Yeah.
Yulisa? Am I saying that correctly? Is it Yulisa?
Ulissa. Ulissa.
Yulisa. Okay. But do you guys have like a marketing plan that you present when you go on a listing appointment?
Honestly, with listing appointments, not really, because like the way we usually get listings is like, um, well, the way I've gotten listings before is just like, oh, I've seen what you do with the properties. We want to sign with you. I don't even present anything. But
Okay,
I think they just
we're
see
done
what I
then.
do and they're like, we want that. And I'm like, okay, so we really just go and sign. But I would like to because I'm like, sometimes I see that. I did miss out once on one because, again, they saw kind of what I was doing, but I wasn't prepared because I had never actually done like a listing presentation. It was just kind of like, okay, you want to work with me? Great, me too. Let's do it. It's kind of like
Well,
that.
that's wonderful. I mean, that's almost like my closing, but it's as I always tell people, I'm the worst closer ever because it's kind of like, are you ready to rock and roll? That's my close, but we'll kind of go over that. But so so we've done a fair amount of business, and we've been doing this since the Stone Age too. So we've been in business for 33 years. We've done about 5,500 or 5,600 now, 5,600 transactions. I do pretty much all the listing appointments, so I've listed over 3,500 homes. So we went through an evolution of we used to do a two-step. This is well before what you know, but we would do a two-step where we would go and meet with the client first and look at the house, then we would come back a second time. And after a while, it's kind of like sellers were like, "Why? Why do you need to do that?" Then when we have all this information, it didn't make sense anymore. And we were to spend extra time doing that. So before we get into the marketing plan, a couple different things. Is one is we do so much of marketing and listing behavior, and we're going to kind of focus on listing behavior today, is part of your brand. So, and then Kathy and I just had a conversation coming over, is so part of your marketing plan needs to be who you are. Okay. And one of the things that Kathy and I were talking about is, she's like, Dave, it's not really branding. People list with us because we do that personal connection. We have a personal connection with them. And
Because of our reputation.
part of our reputation. But as I said, isn't that personal connection and your reputation part of your brand? So when you think of DMA real estate, which is this one right here, you think of personal connection, going the extra mile, a white glove service. And so ultimately, and the reason I'm bringing this up is you want to bring that into your marketing plan as well. Okay. And what your marketing plan is going to be all the different things that you're going to do for the client. And you definitely want to have unique things that you do that set yourself apart. Okay. And there's three things that the seller wants to know. Actually, there might be four, and I'll tell you the fourth one as well. But what do you think the first one is?
I think getting their property in front of the most amount of eyes possible.
So the first piece of information they want to know, I'm going to suggest, is what's my house worth, right?
How much
Right.
money?
The second one is how much am I going to net from the sale of the home? So that's when you go into commissions and transfer taxes and all that kind of stuff. They want to know what's my house worth? What am I going to walk away from this deal? How much money am I going to walk away with this deal with, right? And then the third thing they want to know is, which is to me the crucial one, why should I hire Doris? Why should I hire Yelissa? Why should I hire them? Why not hire Joe Schmo over at Keller Williams? They're a national company, or Caldwell Banker, or this, that, and the other thing. Why would I hire Doris and Yelissa? Right? So that's where this marketing plan needs to come across. The fourth one that I kind of tell people, the other thing that I find is what are the repairs that I might need to do to get the biggest return on my investment? And these are what I refer to as lipstick on pig type improvements, like painting and flooring and little things that don't cost a whole lot. But I a lot of times painting and flooring can bring $5,000 worth of flooring and painting can bring a $20,000 improvement in price. And especially in this market now, what we're finding here in Michigan is we're getting just as many houses where there's multiple offers, people bidding against each other. But the differences between today and 2 years ago, we're only having those on the houses that are move-in condition. The ones that are not move-in condition, buyers are getting pickier, and they are basically saying, seller, we want move-in condition. And so it's even more important today. Okay? So this is my marketing plan.
Very fancy.
It's not 3D. It's not social media. It's not a booklet or anything like that, right?
It's not on a tablet. It's just
So,
paper.
and what I kind of say is, I don't care how you present it. It's the content and how it's delivered. Okay. So what I am going to do, if it's all right with you, is I'm going to role play with Kathy and go over my marketing plan, and I'm going to make this come alive. Okay. And then what I want you to kind of listen for is how I present it. And then the other part to think about is, am I capturing all the different avenues where I might be able to attract my buyer, right? And so what ends up happening, if I go over, again, if I tell them what their house is worth, I tell them exactly what they're going to walk away with. So we deal with commissions and all the kind of stuff right away, or right up front. And then I go over my marketing plan and I can knock them out of the water with that. Then Dave, the bad closer, can just say, ready to rock and roll? Ready to rock and roll gets me a 92% conversion rate, which is ridiculous. But if I do all the other steps correctly, that's all I have to do, because they won't even think about wanting to list with anybody else. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to role play with Kathy. And then at the end, I want you to kind of say, maybe what I didn't cover, what you would do differently. And just be aware that we're all going to have different demographics, who our demographic is and who our target buyer is, our target sellers. Okay. And so Kathy and I have a tendency to, I shouldn't lump Kathy into that. I have a tendency to really love 50 plus sellers. So I just have a tendency to just really just gravitate toward 50 plus. If you're younger and social media driven and all this other stuff, you're going to put those types of things in there as well. But my clients, a lot of them are 50 plus, which again, 85% of all 50 plus individuals own a home. So my demographic is going to be pretty, and I just got my SRES, and I'm going to be niching it, like I'm going to be going full bore after 50 plus here in the next couple of years so that I can retire someday. But I'm going to go over my marketing plan with Kathy to give you some ideas of some of the things that we go over to try to set ourselves apart. Okay. So Kathy, what we did is we went over, what has sold, what's currently on the market. The range that we came up for your house is somewhere, I'd say, between 375 and 400,000. Does it make sense by going over that sold information? And the reason we went over the sold information is what sold information does, it gives us the range of where we think the house would sell at, the comps or what's currently on the market, and your motivation. That's going to go into exactly where we want to list the property at. Right. So lower part of the price range if you're more motivated, maybe the top if you're not as motivated. And then the second thing that we did is we did the estimation of proceeds. We didn't have any questions on that. And now what I want to do after we've gone over that information is I want to kind of go over what we're going to do to market your home to the property. And I kind of like to joke about the reason why we're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everyone has their marketing plan, but this is what sets us apart. And what I want to do is show you how your house would be competitively marketed in the marketplace. Make sense?
Yeah.
So the first thing when it comes to advertising is here in Michigan, I'm going to set this up a little bit. So a lot of states, they have a couple different multiple listing systems and a couple board of realtors. Here in Michigan, we have 37 board of realtors, and we have like 7 different multiple listing systems. So Kathy, one of the things that's important to me is that I want to make sure that we get accurate information going out to the public and also to the other realtors. And so one of the things that's important to me is I input all my own listings. Yes, all 3,500 of the homes that I've listed, I input those myself because information is so important that I want to make sure that when a buyer or a realtor looks at this information, it's correct. And one of the things that I did a few years ago, I joined different multiple listing systems so that I can input the listings directly into those MLSs to make sure we get the information done correctly. Sometimes when we input it into ours and goes to other ones, they may transpose taxable value and taxes. So I go through and input those to make sure we get that accurate information. We're in an information gathering society. People want information. They want it now. They want it correct. And so that's why that's so important to us. The next thing, which is even more important, is we have all professional photography. So we have a company that we've handpicked that's going to come into your home. We're going to take all the still photos, professional still photos. We're going to do a tour from a buyer's perspective, which would be a custom-made video tour. As a buyer would see it when they're walking through the property. We're also going to do a 360 virtual tour on the property. We're going to take aerials of the property so they can see where it is in conjunction with other areas and the woods in the back of your house and things like that. They can see that's private. And the reason that we spend as much time and money on photography, it's a 97% chance that the buyer of your house is going to see it on the internet. So if we don't have professional photos, the chances of them not looking at it increase. So what we want to do is make sure that we have professional photos so they think it's worth $500,000 rather than $400,000 because they will make a decision whether they're going to look at it or not based on the photographs. Make sense? The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take that information, the still photos, the virtual tours, and as you know, I mean, we're a similar age. I like Facebook. And a lot of the demographic for our clients is going to be on Facebook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the still photos, the virtual tours, I'm going to put them on Facebook. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to boost it and start sending it directly to who I think our target buyers and demographic is. So here's the good and the bad part about Facebook, Kathy, is that have you ever gone to Amazon and looked for a toaster and then you came back to your Facebook feed? What do you start getting feeds for on the right-hand side there? Toasters. The reason for that is because what Amazon does and what Facebook does is they put cookies into your searches. And so what they're doing is they're tracking your spending habit and your buying habits, which is annoying as hell. I get that. But guess what? From my standpoint, I have an idea who my demographic and my target market is. And so what that allows me to do is I can take all this photography and virtual tours and social and media, and then I can dial it in. I can dial it into, if I think my demographic is, like, let's say 40 to 70, I send it out just to 40, 70-year-olds. I can do it by income level. I can do it by age. I can do it by area. I can dial it in. So I'm not just spraying and praying. I'm targeting my advertising marketing to who I think my buyer is going to be. Make sense? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to plaster it all over the internet. You're going to be on dmarealestate.com, realtor.com, Facebook, Trulia, Zillow, and over 350 additional websites. As we spoke previously, 97% chance that the buyer of the house is initially going to see it on the internet, and then that's what's going to prompt them to make and schedule a showing. So we need to have all that exposure all over the place. And it may be someone coming in from out of the area too. And if it's someone coming out of the area, they're definitely going to be seeing it on the internet. So that's why we want to have that. And then we have a special relationship with Zillow. We've been a premier agent with them. We've spent $12,000 a month with them to get premium placement of all of our listings. We'll also make your house a showcase listing. And what Zillow likes to do with our showcase listings is because it promotes their brand so well, they'll boost those for us for free because that's how they promote and get 225 million unique visitors per month by doing that. So we want to let them do that with us. The next thing we're going to do is send direct mail to target markets. So reason we do that, Kathy, is who do you think the best sources of leads for your neighborhood are?
Usually in my neighborhood.
Yeah. Who knows your neighborhood better than anyone else? Your neighbors. So doesn't it make sense to send out a just listed postcard within a 1 mile radius? Because I've seen it happen a million times where someone in your neighborhood's had a party, they've had someone visit them, or they have someone at work that gets transferred in and they don't know this area. They ask their friend, you know, we're looking for a house. What would you recommend? Hey, this Mueller dude just listed a house for us. This house right down the street from us. We live in this neighborhood. You may want to take a look at it. So one of the things with a listing agent, why I love being primarily a listing agent is my job is to get everybody else working for me. I get the internet working for me. I get your neighbors working for me. And then I'm going to talk about a few other things too. So we want to have that national exposure and we want to get as many different places because I may be pretty good at what I do. And I think I know who my target buyer is. But the one moment I don't advertise all these different places, that buyer would have come from that area. So that's why we do all these different things. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to send new listing information to all the other agents in the area, not just our brokerage. And the reason for that is when I got in the business back before they had color television in 1993, it was an 80-20 business, which is basically 20% of the realtors did 80% of the business. I'd say 5 years ago, that switched to 90-10. 10% of the realtors did 90% of the business. Now, I say within the next 2 years, it's going to go 95-5. 5% of the realtors do 95% of the business. So guess what we've done at DMA? We've taken a list of the top realtors that we've done business with in your area, and we will send them information on the property. It's, again, we're not going to spray and pray to all the realtors out there. 71% of all realtors didn't sell a single house last year. We're going to target directly to the people that are doing a ton of business, especially the ones that are doing a ton of business here. And then we're going to send them out that information regarding your video, the videos, the information on the house, any information that they would help them have their client make a decision on the property. Does it make sense? So not only are we getting, again, the internet, your neighbors, I'm going to get every other realtor involved too. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do open houses. So a lot of people don't believe in open houses. They say open houses are a waste of time. They're just to pick up buyers. Well, bullshit. Let me tell you why. I don't work with buyers. Guess where my butt is every Sunday? In an open house. Would I be there if I was picking up buyers? No, I'm there to sell the house. Last year, we sold 21 houses directly from open houses. And here's my only thing that I will agree with you with on open houses. If you do not hold an open house, you will not sell it at an open house. That's the only thing I'll agree with you on. I personally, as a realtor, find that's two of my most productive hours of the day. Heck, hey, I can watch a football game. You know, if there's no clients, I'll watch the football game or do work. But I'm calling clients, things like that. And if I have people coming through, who better to help sell your property than me? I know this house better than anybody else. So when these buyers are walking through, I can lead them down the path. Make sense? The next thing we'll do is we will have feature sheets at the house with color photos. A lot of realtors are now saying, hey, you don't need to do feature sheets anymore. All the information's on the internet and stuff like that. I poll our buyers agents and they say that their clients want to have the feature sheets. And it may be someone coming in from out of the area. I mean, this is very well that your buyer could be a relocation. They come in for a weekend, they see 20 houses, only 5 have feature sheets. They're taking notes on them and things like that. And when they go back to the hotel, you're still in front of them. So you're still getting FaceTime in front of them. So that's why we still think that's important. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a sign in front of your yard with an info box, with a price, with square footage, with all the things. We're not going to do all those bullshit games where you got to call them for price and you got to call this for that to try to pick up a buyer lead. We're an information society. We don't want to frustrate buyers. We want to give them all the information. If they see the information and they want to make an inquiry, we're dealing with hot leads, with serious leads. So next thing I want to kind of talk about is feedback. So I talk fast, I talk loud. If you haven't heard a word I have said, you're in luck. Doesn't matter, because nothing else matters more than the next thing we're going to talk about. Within 24 to 40 hours of every single showing, we're going to get you feedback. Okay? What I think your house is worth, and the reason that's so important, and that's where the rubber hits the pavement, the reason that's so important is because what I think your house is worth, nobody cares. Nobody cares what I think. What you think your house is worth, it does matter, because you've got to feel good about an offer you take or don't take. But if we've got a buyer that's pre-approved with money in their pocket and they're showing our house, guess what they're also showing? Our competition. Our competition. So we want to find out, how do we stack up against the competition? And if we're having a resistance to price or condition, you're going to get that feedback the same as we do. We make 9 attempts for feedback, 3 automated, 3 text messages, 3 emails. We have a 92% success rate getting feedback. So if you have 10 showings, you're going to get 9 feedbacks, and we're going to utilize that. Let me just tell you a quick little thing is that I get a lot of calls from people that have had their house on the market, doesn't sell, then they call me to come out and look at their house and tell them why they didn't sell and stuff like that. And guess what the first question I ask the seller is?
Feedback?
What was your feedback? And guess what the answer is 9 out of 10 times? What feedback? So I tell them, wait a second, you have me, who I'm not in the market to sell a house or buy a house or anything like that. I'll come and tell you what it's worth, but you've had X, how many showings did you have?
20.
So you had 20 showings of people that are ready to buy, pre-approved money in their pocket, and you didn't get feedback from those people that are actually in the market to buy. So that's ridiculous. And that's why this is so important. And again, we need to get that feedback. So if we need to adjust price or condition, things like that, we've got that information to do it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to select showing instructions that will optimize showings and also fit your lifestyle. And the reason we kind of go over that, it's your house. You got to live in the house. And we respect that. And we know that. We ask that you make it as easy as possible to show so we can get as many people through there as possible. But we want to create as little inconvenience for you at the same time. And then thirdly, we're going to talk about your property with our agents, within our company every week, okay? And then very rarely are we having to talk about the second or third week, because our average days on market is right around 10 days right now. So just to kind of recap, our overall responsibility basically, obviously, is to sell the property. It's also to handle all the details during the marketing period and from sale to close. We'll arrange all the inspections. We'll make sure the appraisal comes in. We'll get the title work taken care of. We'll make sure all contingencies are removed. We're going to contact purchaser's lender. Back in the old days, Kathy, we would take pre-approvals at face value. No longer. And just so you know, when we get offers, we pick up the phone and call the lender, and we verify that you have verified income, job employment, credit, funds to close. We make sure we get it. We get the affirmation from the loan officer, and then we keep on top of them because the 2 kiss of death in this market right now is overpricing your house and the fall through. And then the last thing we're going to do is arrange closing. And this is all a long-winded way of saying only 2 things you got to do for us. Make the house presentable as possible. Second one is make it as easy as possible to show. I'm sorry, there is a third one. Don't be late for closing.
Okay.
Yes,
he drinks 9 cups of coffee before it comes.
did you all hear the marketing plan? So what are your comments on what you heard?
It was a handful for sure. I the
Yeah,
only
you
thing I
can
did
watch the video in a different speed next
Well,
time.
if you'd like a copy of what we kind of went over, we'd be happy
yeah,
to, if you leave a email in the chat, we'll email you a copy of it. But the one thing I wanted to kind of get across though was think about all the different avenues that we're going to market the property, right?
well, you didn't even let the client speak. So it's like, it's like, oh my God, they're doing all of this. So of course I'm signing. Like you didn't even, you know what I mean? It's not in a bad way. It's like, look at all the things we're gonna do for your property. That's what I liked.
Well, if I had a talkative client, I'm going to let them talk a lot too.
He just doesn't let me talk.
But as you can tell, I have a certain cadence and I have a certain intensity. And you know how she reacted with the lack of questions and stuff?
Yeah.
That's how 95% of my clients react. And when I'm done, they're like, then I'll say, do you have any questions on anything that we've gone over? And guess what the answer is? And it's not yes or no. Guess what the answer is 95% of the time?
No.
No, you covered all my questions and actually answered some additional ones I hadn't even thought of. And so a couple different things were my intensity or energy, right? So if I gave that presentation to you, what would be your response?
I don't think I would doubt to list it because I'm like, well, these people clearly know what they're doing.
Yep. And then remember what we talked about earlier about, we've already got the branding, the credibility and validity before we even walk in.
Yeah.
And most of the people that we know that we've sold 5,500 homes and $1.6 billion in real estate. So the only way we're going to lose that listing is if I fumble the ball, right? And so the other part that I wanted to is you want to get to the point where you're that confident in going over your value proposition, right? And and what I would like you to think about is what makes you truly unique in your market. Okay? And you can use what I have and some of the different things, etc. But what makes me unique is very different than what makes you unique. So that's one of the things that you really want to find is what sets you apart from the competition. And then the other part for us is our knowledge of the area. We're very confident. People know that we give the white glove service. We're big into under promise and over deliver, but that's part of the branding that we've done prior to even walking in. Okay. So really the only way I'm going to lose a listing, and then the other part of this is guess how many sellers list with the first person that they call. I think I said that the number was 71. I believe it's 73%. So 73% of all sellers list with the first person that walks in. So as long as you sound confident, and that's what a seller wants more than anything else. They want someone, and I say this often, is that I tell people, I don't care if it's a $50,000 listing or if it's a $3 million listing, it's a CEO of a company, they both want the same thing. They both have jobs, they both have families, they want someone that's going to come in and take the home selling process off of their plate and off of their shoulders and put it on theirs. And rather than saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I mean, I'm going to take this off your shoulders and things like that. If you go in with that confidence, almost like it's we call it an assumptive close. My close literally is after I ask them, is there anything I didn't cover? Is there any questions you have on anything? Oh my God, no. Are you ready to go? Are you ready to rock and roll? That's my wonderful close. World's worst closer here. But I get 92% of the listings I go on. And it's not because of looks. It's not because of knowledge or being smarter than anybody else. It's being consistent and knowing who I am, being unique and genuine. Kathy gets annoyed with me because I don't put on airs. Sometimes she wishes I would. But what you see is what you get. but but find out, dig deep, what do you bring to the table, put that into your marketing plan, and then execute it. And like I said, do you need a Sharon book to go through and do that? I think sometimes it becomes almost more of a distraction to have a big old book. It takes, I want one-on-one interaction. I want them focusing on what we're talking about. And the book sometimes doesn't do that. Any other questions or comments on it?
I do have a question. How do you, because I've had this come up about maybe twice. How do you come up about whenever, like I've had it twice, right? Like where the property I know it could sell for what they wanted for, but the property just wasn't in condition. So how do you politely, I guess, go about saying like, you know what, your house is just a mess right now. It's really,
Yeah.
and sometimes they'll think like, oh, like look at what I did here, what I did there. I have one client specific that we just aren't able to move the listing much because he's like, well, I did this and I did that, but it still looks bad. Like in their eyes, their house is beautiful, but how do you actually? I don't know how to go about it.
Yeah. So what you do is you take it away from being personal on any level, and you can sit. And what I would say is, as you know, Doris, I work with a lot of buyers, and buyers, especially now in today's market, what they're expecting is they're expecting houses to be more in moving condition. Now, that's one of the reasons why, and again, you can go back on one of our earlier ones, and I go through the 5 steps to a successful listing appointment. And one of the crucial ones, the first step is the initial phone call. The second one is the walkthrough. And that's where I deal with it when I'm walking through the property. And I'll say, would you like me to make suggestions about things that I know will improve the value of the house? And it's not always going to be a house that's in moving condition will sell for more money every single time. And I'll also say a house that needs some work, as opposed to we can go through and do all the things in this house and it could be worth $40,000 more than what we're going to get in the market right now. And let me also just take it a step further, Doris, is if I have a pool of 10 buyers, and let's say we have the exact same house that needs work done, and we have the exact same house that they've done the work, and it's priced $50,000 more, what percentage of those buyers are going to buy the one for $50,000 more where the work's been done? I would say it's probably 95%. You will, because the only people that are interested in the ones that need work are going to be investors or people that's it's handy to do. And so here's one of the things that I tell them too is, here's Doris, you're going to pay for that improvement one way or another. And most of the time it's just, you can, hey, declutter, but you got to be careful about not using declutter word, organize, painting, and flooring. Those 3 can greatly enhance, okay? And so what I'll tell them is, hey, Doris, you're going to pay for these improvements one way or another. And let me tell you what the buyer's mindset is. When they walk through and it needs all the work done, and let's say another house is $50,000 more, guess what the mortgage payment difference is between yours and the one that's done for $50,000 more? It's $200, maybe. Okay. Now take your house. It's $200,000 less, but they're having to come now $20,000, $30,000 out of pocket to do this repair, to do that repair, to do this. Not to mention it's their time. So they're gonna, they've got to go through and hire these contractors. They're not going to be able to. They're going to have contractors coming through their house, and the house isn't going to truly be done for 3 months. So they got all that annoying thing too. It pushes them to something that's in moving condition. Okay, and they're going to end up reducing their prices. So what I tell people, the other aspect of that too is that you lose the psychological value of the improvement. Okay. When you go through and do the improvements, now you got the psychological value of all the things being done. You can price it higher. And then 10 buyers go through, 9 people will be interested. Whereas if it needs the work, one person might be interested, and it's probably an investor or someone that's going to negotiate you. Yep.
So the thing, I'm going to talk for 1 second. Remember, your buyers are going to walk into a house. They're going to look at the lesser price that needs the work, and they start instantly subtracting, right? Oh, this needs this carpet, 10 grand. Oh, this needs this. No. So they're instantly going down. You walk into the house that has the improvements, even if it's just paint and flooring and it's tidy, and they think, these people take good care of their house. Oh, look at this. And then everything becomes oh my gosh, look at this. Oh my gosh, look at this. And your price just keeps going up and up and up and up. And that's what happens.
Let me just, I want to piggyback on one thing she said, which was perfect, is what a buyer thinks something costs as opposed to what it really costs is very
true.
different. So, and then the other part where you can add value is have a list of contractors. And then the other part of value that we put is like, I just had a situation where they've moved up to Grand Rapids, which is about 3 hours away from Ann Arbor. And they were concerned because they didn't have the time to go back and forth to meet with contractors and stuff like that. And I said, you don't need to do any of that. We'll take care of all that. And Kathy's the one that usually does a lot of the coordination of that. So we take that off their plate. All they have to do is write a check. So we'll go get estimates, and then we'll send them to the seller and say, hey, do you want to do it? This is what I think it's going to add in value. So a lot of the concern is they're going to have to deal with the contractors and the time and stuff like that. Take it off their plate. Say, I will coordinate everything. And that's a value add, right? That's a value add. That's one of the advantages of having a team is every one of us has a specialty of what they're really good at. Kathy can take a $30,000 pit, get contractors in and have it be worth $250,000 a month later. Okay. We've got
less expensive, but yeah.
But we've got experience doing that. But that's part of value that you're adding as well, right? Have a list of contractors. So I know that a 1,000 square foot ranch would probably cost about $3,000 to paint. You want to know what a buyer thinks that costs? $10,000. Hardwood floors. We've got a magician artist that does hardwood floors, right? He'll take piece of shit hardwood floors, make them look brand spanking new for a couple grand. And a buyer, again, they'll think it's 10,000, but they can't see past it anyways.
And holy moly, you don't want to live in a house while somebody's redoing your hardwood floors.
All the dust and everything like that. So it's easier to do it before they move in. So was any of that helpful, Doris?
I think the hardest thing
for sure. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I struggle with the declutter part because especially we do a lot where, grandma's gone into assisted living or whatever. And there's so much. And my take on that, without saying the word declutter, is we want to be able to have the buyer see it as their home, right? Not your home. It's the minute you sign those listing documents, it's the hardest thing to explain to someone that it's essentially not your house anymore. It's got to be able to be put in someone else's eyes, their brain, about, oh, this could be my house.
And then it also becomes distracting as they start adding up everything. And if it's cluttered, they start focusing on the wrong things. And as a listing agent, as a buyer's agent, I can talk to that. And what we want to do is as a listing agent, I want them just focusing on the house, especially focusing on, there's three money shots or three or four areas of each house that makes it unique to the marketplace and what really is going to sell the house. I want them focusing on those things and not on the distractions. So, and then I can but I'll also use examples. Yeah, I can understand. I just had a situation, and I'll go over the situation where we had the work done, and then I'll use something like Elmwood where they didn't do the work. We had a house where they didn't do the work, and they probably lost $50,000 in that sale. Then we had the person
what's
that
going to
did
cost them $1,800.
$1,800 that would have gotten probably 50,000 more. Okay. And then we'll use a story of, or we'll show them, not just talk about it, but we'll say, this is the house we had, this is what we did, this is what we got for it. So we have a proven track record of this as well.
And Dave uses the term lipstick on pig. And to be honest, it's not really, a lot of times the paint jobs, it's not, you're not changing every room and making the color matches, whatever. It's not that. We don't do crappy work. Because people figure that out. There's too many flippers out there now that are buying crummy houses and doing crappy work. And we know, there's some flippers in our area that I will go look at their house. I'm not even looking to buy a house, but I'll go look at it because he does such a great job. And it's like, oh, it's a rich cookhouse. And then all the people want to scurry to see it. That's amazing. And they look at stuff that we've done. We don't actually flip because we don't buy and sell it on our own. But the houses that we look at, and they go, oh, Kathy did this color. And, oh, I love that color. And look at the floors. And we never give our handymans or our hardwood floors out to other agents, though.
And but that's also part of this business too. It's developing these relationships with contractors, with lenders, with title companies, and things like that. And like we have a painter that we've used for over 30 years. We used to give out 3 names for painters. This guy got every single job, and so we stopped doing it. Do we get anything for giving his name out? No, we don't get anything other than he knows that if our name's attached when they call, he's going to do everything he can to get them in before other people. Yeah. He will never tell us that he's doing that. We will never ask him to do it. We know he will. And so you develop these relationships so that for that very reason. And I'm about ready to, I just got my senior designation. We're going to go through and do a senior resource guide where we're going to go through and do different contractors and stuff like that. And I'm going to vet them, and I'm going to have conversations with them.
Protect them.
So, any other questions about marketing, listing?
When I brought this up to Dave, and I think we've sort of done this, is I said, we should talk about what your value proposition is. And yes, what we do is our value proposition, but such a big chunk. You said right when you came on, Doris, that people know what you do. So people just call, you got come list me's, right? And you're pretty clear about what you do, but so far it doesn't sound like you've had to actually articulate it. So as you do build up a following and people that are seeing what you do, there's going to be more and more that don't really know everything about you. They just heard about you. So you're going to have to kind of get that out of your head and get it into some sort of a.
So you'll be in competition. Okay. So my question to you would be, let's say you and I are both going after the same listing. What would you do to get the listing as opposed to me going in and doing my spiel of getting the listing? How would you do that? How would you structure your value proposition?
Like if I was the competing agent against you, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I feel so tough. I think, um, well, one strategy that has worked for me has been like it just depends on the property too. Like for example, if I'm showing um, a specific like very peculiar property, I'm gonna narrow it down to like, oh, based on your property, this is the type of buyer that we're gonna target, and I have an audience with this target, or things like that.
Your
Like
niche.
basically make it known that I can sell, yeah, that type of property. Um, one, like I guess some
Dave,
like the most listings that
but David can go and he can target that market. He can target the whole state. He can target the whole country. So why you've got this little niche, but Dave's got the whole freaking country. Why would we want to same cost, same commission? Why would we want to list with you and not David?
also David doesn't speak three languages. Our team has three language speakers in our team, and a lot of these agents, like, they'll miss out on these markets where they want to learn, they want to know what they're signing when they're signing up to in another language.
So I wasn't trying to ambush you. What I'm trying to do is make you think.
Yeah.
No,
Dude,
Yeah,
you
seriously.
I
came
like
up
that,
with
Yeah.
bro.
something.
I'm
You're
not.
driving the car and you still came
Yeah.
up with
So
something.
what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make you think. What makes you unique? And you said I speak three languages. Hey, I speak one and a half. Um, I, I anyways,
You got Ola.
but what I want everyone on the call to think about is if you were competing against me for a listing. So first of all, am I local or whatever, and things like that. I'm local. I know this market better than anybody else. Hey, Dave's going to spray and pray it. I mean, he's just going to put it into his machine, and you're just going to be a number. Whereas I am going to individually be holding your hand every step of the way because you are the most important client in my life right now, and so I'm going to do whatever I can. That personal approach so I make fun of so
A
I
lot of
once
things.
yeah I once had a I don't ever ask who I'm competing against when I'm competing. My mindset always and it should be is I'm the best realtor to list this house. I mean whoever they're talking to doesn't matter to me. But one time I knew this one realtor who I was competing against, right? And I knew that he did not make the individual phone calls for feedback. And so what I went through on my thing is I really went into the feedback part and saying, and I'm not going to leave that to anybody else because this is the most important part of a marketing plan or marketing a property is hearing the feedback from the other realtor. I'm not leaving that to an assistant or something like that. I'm personally picking up the phone and calling that realtor to ask them what they thought so I can get that feedback and so it's accurate and not going from, hey, have you ever done the thing where you started a conversation here, you got here, and then it's totally different here? Let's bypass that. I'm gonna get the feedback directly and give it to you. So if we need to adjust, we're gonna be able to do that. So I'm giving him the personal touch and everything like that because I knew this other person wasn't going to do that. So I structured it was really the same marketing plan, but I structured it and I really emphasized that because I knew that would be one of my strong points and their weak point. Okay. So
The other thing that I loved your answer. I mean, you came up with something, you're like being bulleted and you came up with something that's phenomenal.
yeah, you're thinking
But
on your
that's
feet, which is you have to do on a listing appointment.
it was really great, but it is so genuinely you. So I mean, you can't do Dave. Nobody really can do Dave. I try, it cracks everybody up. But you can only do you, right? So whatever those people that call, come, they know what you do. Make sure that you've got some great reviews out there and be you. So those people that have already dealt with you are selling you just as much as you are because it's huge.
It's like I can't pull off the cowboy hat that Troy has,
Oh,
Troy's a handsome man, but I couldn't pull off the cowboy hat. So if I went down, I'm assuming he's from Texas. But if I went down there, he'd slaughter me. He'd walk in with his cowboy hat, and I wouldn't have my cowboy hat. I wouldn't have a chance. Yeah, San Antonio. See, I told you Texas. But but Troy, you're
it
also
was a really hard one, Dave.
Troy. Well, he's also a handsome man, so he can use that to his advantage. I don't have that advantage, so I got to be smooth. No, but seriously,
loud.
but no, serious. That's part of your value proposition, who you are. Be unique, and the reason I brought that up, Troy, in a humorous way, is be unique and genuine to yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. Be the best version of you, because that's what's gonna win. And I could tell you a million things how you can compete against me to kick my ass in a listing appointment. Not going to, but I'm saying there are many things, but that's what each of you need to do, is figure out what makes you unique, that when you go on a listing appointment, these are the reasons why I would hire myself. And here's my last thing I'm going to say, because I haven't hijacked the conversation, have I? Is my philosophy is before walking to a listing appointment, if you don't 100% believe that you're the best person to list that house, don't walk in. Don't walk in, because you should think in your head, I'm 100% the best person to list this house, and I'm going to show the seller why. That's your mindset walking in there. And if you see me walking out when you're walking in, say, "Oh, cool. I can't wait to kick I can't wait to do my thing so I can call Dave later on," said, "Sorry, loser." Yep.
Please let that be the last thing you say. Any questions? Anything we can do?
Anything we can help with? So we're really into the anything we can help with type of thing. So Kathy has left both of
Yes.
our emails there. If there's anything we can help you with your business, let us know. And then
And we mean it.
if Real Broker stock takes off, I might
Bye-bye.
I might call you about Wrightsville Beach. All right.
Yay.
I was telling you, Yulissa, that I love Wilmington and Wrightsville Beach. Can't afford it right now, but if Real Broker stock does well, maybe.
Where are you guys located? I think I missed the first few minutes.
Ann Arbor, Michigan. So University of Michigan area. Yep.
That's still an expensive area, right? I feel like it's pricey. It might be pricey.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the average, I think our average is 475, but getting stuff under 5 is pretty difficult. But we've got a lot of surrounding areas that are a little bit less. But we haven't really seen values ever really go down in Ann Arbor, because there's the university. We have one of the top hospitals in the country. Venture capital money's coming here because we have all that intellectual capital. Ann Arbor's been voted the smartest city in the United States. It has the most advanced degrees per capita of any city in the United States.
Is that why they asked us to move out of town?
That's why they revoked my Ann Arbor citizenship and shipped me up to Pinckney, Michigan, because I was bringing down the curve.
Terrible.
All right. If anyone else has any questions,
Nice meeting you too.
You as well.
Have
have a great day.
Bye bye.